Dear students, today we are going to learn a new chapter called Force and Laws of Motion. In this chapter, you will learn about force, types of force, the effects of force, and some other things. So let's start our chapter. Force and laws of motion. Now in this chapter, first we'll learn about force. What is a force? Generally we say that push or pull acting on a body is known as force. SI unit of force, we write it as Newton. Symbolically we write it as capital N. Now see, whenever we will push or pull a body, we will say that force is being applied. But there are some higher definition of force you will come to know when you go to your higher classes. Now in this chapter, since it is related to force and laws of motion, here we will see some of the effects of force. So let us see some of the effects of force. Now the first thing is, number one is, force can cause motion in a body. Suppose we apply some force, means push or pull, is called as force on a body. The body moves. This is a very general observation. But sometimes force can cause a change in shape. Force can cause a change in shape of body. Example is that if you take a soft body, a sponge, when you press a sponge, pressing means you are applying some force. So when you press a sponge, the piece of sponge produces some depression, that there is a change in the shape. Or if you squeeze a soft ball, then you can see that the shape of the ball changes. In this case you are applying force, and the force which you are applying is causing a change in the shape of the body. Number 3, force can cause a change in the direction. Change in the direction of a body. Now number 3, force can cause a change in the direction of a body. Here you can see that if a ball is moving in this direction, now a ball is moving, when the ball comes here, reaches this position, you apply force on the moving ball. So now the ball will now move in this direction. So ball was supposed to move in this direction, but due to the application of the force, now the ball continues to go in that direction. So this is an example where application of force will cause a change in the direction of a body. So a football player kicks a ball which is being received by another player is an example of force causing a change in the direction of a body. Or a hockey player hitting a moving hockey ball with a stick changes the direction of the ball. So this is an example of force causing a change in the direction of a body. Also some other forces, force can cause a moving body to stop. So if a body is moving and if you apply force from opposite side, the body will stop. So these are some of the common effects of force. So I repeat, so force can cause motion in a body. So if we apply force on a body which is at rest, the body will start moving. Force can cause a change in the shape of the body. If you squeeze a sponge, the piece of sponge will change in the shape. Change in the direction of a body. A football player kicking a football produces a change in the direction of the ball. And number 4, force can cause a moving body to stop. If a body is moving towards you, if you apply force from opposite side, the body will stop. So these are some of the effects of force. Now in this chapter you will be very closely associated with a term called, remember this concept, state of rest and state of motion. So these are the two states of a body. One is state of rest, another is state of motion. Now in this chapter we will frequently use this term state of rest and state of motion. Now what is the meaning of state of rest? So see, look into this duster. Now the duster is in my hand. Now the body or the duster is not moving, it is at rest. So we will technically say that the body is at state of rest. Now what is state of motion? Now if you consider a car, imagine this is a car is now in motion, it is moving. So we will say that the car is in a state of motion. So in this chapter we will be very closely associated with these two terms, state of rest and state of motion. Now understanding these basic things about force and the concept, that state of rest and state of motion, we will understand two types of forces which are very closely related to this chapter. So we will discuss the types of forces which are related to this motion only. But whenever people will say what are the different types of forces, you people can say, sir, there are many types of forces available in the nature. One is electrostatic force, force acting between the charged bodies. Gravitational force, force acting between two objects. Gravitational force everybody know. Magnetic forces, north pole, south pole, they attract each other. Nuclear forces. So there are different types of forces available in nature. But in this chapter, since we are discussing force and laws of motion, so related to motion, the two types of forces that are closely associated are, we'll talk about balanced forces and unbalanced forces. So these two things we'll study, balanced forces and unbalanced forces. Now let us see what are balanced forces. Now we'll take two cases. Case 1, to understand balanced forces. Now body is at rest. So we have taken one body, one object which is at rest. It is lying on the ground. Now, one person pulls it along this direction and another person pulls it along this direction. Now, this side, the body is being pulled with a force of 10 Newton. You know Newton is the unit of force. And another person is also pulling in the opposite direction with same force. So what will happen to the body? Now the body was at rest before the application of the forces. Now the body is acted upon by two forces in the opposite direction, but the values of forces are same. So what will happen? The forces will cancel each other and there will be no effect, and there will be no effect on the state of the body. State of the body means the state of rest I am talking about. The body was at rest before the application of the forces. Now even after we apply the forces, the body still remains at rest. Now why the body is still at rest even after the application of these two forces? Because these two forces are balancing each other, means they cancel each other. So such type of forces are called as balanced forces. So you can see that the total force acting on the body is 0, because 10 Newton and 10 Newton, they balance each other to produce 10 minus 10 becomes 0. So balanced forces means, definition of balanced forces you can write, if the total force acting on a body is 0, then the forces are said to be balanced. Now even in this situation, you think that one more person comes and he applies the force of 5 Newton this side, and another person also comes and applies the 5 Newton on this side. Now how many forces are acting here? 1, 2, 3, 4. This side 2 force, this side 2 force. But still there will be no effect on the body, because 10 plus 5, 15 on this side, 10 plus 5, 15 on this side. 15 minus 15 is equal to 0. So even if a good number of forces act on the body, but if the total force acting on the body is found to be 0, then you will say that the forces are balanced. And whenever balanced forces will act on the body, it will not produce any change in the original state of the body. I repeat, original state of the body means the body was at rest. Even after the application of the forces, the body will remain at rest. So this is one example of balanced forces.